Justin Trudeau doubles down on his carbon tax spike while Pierre Poilievre puts an end to the lies that he is spitting. Let's get into it.
Oh, yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. The carbon tax, I have a feeling, is going to be a long discussed subject when it comes to the channels that you're watching on YouTube, what Canadians have on their minds these days, because affordability is at the end of that rope, on the end of that problem, as to how do people pay for their gas to get to work? How do people pay for the food that their families need? How do people survive under Justin Trudeau's new tyrannical rules in terms of how much they charge for carbon? Keep in mind, one thing that we're going to get into later in this video that Pierre Poilievre mentions is that this carbon tax is supposed to quadruple over time, meaning that what you're seeing at the pump right now is supposed to go up another 40 to 50 cents a liter under Trudeau's proposed carbon tax charges. This is insanity. I don't understand how anybody can think that they're able to live under these rules. And we're going to get into a press conference Justin Trudeau had yesterday. And before we do that, I just want to remind everybody that we're closely approaching 30,000 subscribers here on the channel. Just wanted to remind everyone that now would be a good time to subscribe, show us you support the channel, and join our large Fringe majority here on the channel. Make sure to give a thumbs up if you like the content, as well as hit your bell for notifications. Join us live on the channel every Friday night for our Friday night streams, where we go over all of this kind of content, as well as listen to a little bit of Q&A from the community going back and forth. It's always great to see you guys out there. I look forward to having each and every one of you there, and your comments and thumbs up tell everybody out there on YouTube in the algorithm that you're enjoying this content and it's worth them watching. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into what happened with Justin Trudeau. Now, Justin, of course, holding a press conference on Easter Monday to talk about a new national school food program. Now, again, we're going to get into Pierre Poilievre because he also held an Axe the Tax press conference discussing Justin Trudeau's newest rollout of taxes, or newest punishment rollouts, I guess you could say. And one thing he does mention in there is that this is a hypocritical program because, of course, Justin Trudeau is coming in saying he has to create a national school program because he's taxed everyone into oblivion to the point where people can't afford to feed their kids at school. I want to highlight a few things from this press conference because, again, the hypocrisy is right out at the beginning. But then I'm going to get into a little bit of the word bashing that he takes in place, and where Pierre Poilievre has to kind of put him back in his perspective, well-suited place to, I guess, extinguish the lies that Justin Trudeau tries to push forward.
During the long weekend, a lot of people spent time with their family and shared good meals together. And around the kitchen table, a lot of people were talking about grocery prices that are still too high. Tomorrow, kids will be going back to school, and some of them won't have enough to eat. That impacts their health and their opportunities to learn and grow. And like we said last week, this year's upcoming budget will be all about fairness. Fairness for every generation. And that, of course, includes and starts with children and families. We all want kids to have the best start in life, including the most vulnerable. That's why we'll be investing $1 billion to create a national school food program that'll provide meals to 400,000 more kids every year beyond those served by existing programs.
Oh, don't get me wrong. God, I love the look of Crystia Freeland's face when we pause that. It looks like she's passing a little bit from Easter dinner there. Look, I'm not going to poo-poo over any government that wants to help ensure that children are getting what they need, especially in the school program. It would break my heart to think that any child has to go to school underfed in a household where maybe a single mother or single parent or even family that can't afford to keep up with the current level of pricing is managing to handle things in this economic climate. I mean, it's better than going to the Ukraine, I guess, right? But the fact of the matter, with Justin Trudeau. And what the hypocrisy is here that nobody seems to remind him of is some of these problems, not all of them, but a very large portion of them wouldn't exist if you weren't taxing people into oblivion. When you look at the average Canadian's paycheck, almost 50% of their wages goes to taxes. And then they have to pay GST on everything they buy when they leave work. They have to pay carbon tax on everything they consume. Essentially, when you add up the taxes that are paid post-paycheck, the government is taking over 70% of your wages, and only 30% of your money, roughly, is chasing actual goods. We have a saying on this channel. That's unacceptable. But here's where the conference took a bit of a jump. Because Justin Trudeau started getting into Q&A. We all know the old wives' tale. No, I shouldn't say old wives' tale. I say that because we talked about it to great extent. But the explanation that the finance minister has put forward that, look, they do give you rebates 4 times a year, but those rebates don't add up to what the government takes. Now, those rebates also are for those that we covered in another video that are making under $50,000 a year as a family household. In places like British Columbia, where, again, if you were making less than $50,000 a household, you couldn't afford to live as it is, let alone find an easier life with these rebate checks. Of course, Justin Trudeau says that it's all a conspiracy, that everybody's against him. Everybody else has it wrong. Let's take a listen to what he says as he throws the Conservatives under the bus.
So we are both fighting climate change in one of the most efficient ways possible and putting more money back in people's pockets with checks that arrive 4 times a year. The next Canada Carbon Rebate check is arriving on April 15th. So it's money in people's pockets while we continue stepping up in the fight against climate change.
It is not money back in everybody's pocket, though. Only if you make below average earnings.
That's what we're doing. Now, Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are actually getting in the way of delivering the doubling of the rural top-up across the country. We committed to double the rural top-up for the Canada Carbon Rebate from 10 to 20%, but that's being blocked by the Conservatives, who are preventing money from getting in the pockets of Canadians right across the country who need that money, with the cost of groceries, with the cost of living going up right across the board. So anything that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are talking about, worried about affordability or worried about climate change, is simply false.
Let's chime in on that one, because Pierre Poilievre isn't worried solely about affordability. If you listen to Pierre Poilievre in any of his press conferences, he starts to repeat and sound like a broken record at this point. He's worried about the building of houses. He's worried about the cost of living, the cost of homes, the cost of fuel. He's worried about more than a carbon rebate. He's worried about people's ability to afford to live. What Justin Trudeau is talking about, while they're blocking the doubling of the uptick, what Justin Trudeau is talking about here is buying votes. You'll always notice that just before an election, whether you live in a city, province, whether it's federal, you'll notice that they start to talk about things like rebates always about a year out from these runnings, or when they're discussing new taxes, they'll say, we're not going to increase taxes this year, and it's always on an election year because they want you to forget all the crap they've put you through and that you're winning, that you're getting something back. The simple fact about taxation is that if the government is giving anything back over what you've already paid into things, that means they've charged you too much. Your taxes should just pay for what is necessary, not an overage. This government is completely clueless when it comes to how things run. But Pierre Poilievre, again, shuts it down. He reminds everybody just what is really important here. And it comes with this question from a government-paid prostitute, here in British Columbia, while Pierre Poilievre took his press conference, of course, showing the gas price behind him at $1.95. That's insane. Let's listen to what happened here.
I Claire Palmer, CBC News. You spoke quite a bit about food insecurity, and I was wondering if you would support a national food school program or school food program, and why or why not.
Well, you know, after 8 years of Trudeau, 1 in 4 school children is going without enough food. That's a major failure for Justin Trudeau. This is after 8 years of promising that he'd help the middle class. Well, now, by his own admission, 1 in 4 kids don't get enough food. I find it ironic that he's promising a federal food bureaucracy in Ottawa the same day as he raises taxes on food. His carbon tax on the farmer who grows the food and the trucker who ships the food is a tax on the single mom who can't afford to buy the food. I'm reminded that he brought in an affordable housing program. And what did that do? It doubled the cost of housing. So my common sense plan is to axe the carbon tax to lower the cost of food for everyone so that we can reverse the malnutrition that Justin Trudeau's 8 years have caused. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
All right. So what Pierre Poilievre delivers there is what I like to call axonomics. Throw that up in the chat if you guys like that, if we should stick with that. But of course, Pierre Poilievre coming forward to bring hindsight to the fact that this virtue signaling of a program to make it look like, hey, we're swooping in, we care about kids not going hungry. I'm glad. Don't get me wrong here. Don't push me back and say that I don't care about starving children. I think it's great anytime. But with Pierre Poilievre's question of will he support a national food program, the answer is yes. What he's essentially saying is he wants to support a national food program for everyone, not just school kids that are going without. Justin Trudeau is talking about a problem he created in order to try and make better a situation that he's put everyone in, by, again, distracting that, hey, things are going to get good for your kids. What Pierre's talking about is things need to get better for all Canadians. Chimes have to change. They have to axe the tax. This is how we move forward as a country. It's interesting watching Justin Trudeau in this press conference because if you recall back to his last federal election, he's doing the same thing he always does. And again, this is where Pierre Poilievre talks about wedge issues. He's separating Pierre Poilievre. Oh, what Pierre's trying to do is be a racist, misogynist, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's always these terrible people stop us from spending money. They're in your way. They don't care about your future. Only we do while we tax you into oblivion. I'm flabbergasted and completely baffled that anybody can believe the horse shit that flies out of Justin Trudeau's mouth these days. But alas, there are still some. But ladies and gentlemen, let me know again what you think down below in the comments. Is Pierre a professor of axonomics? Do you think that this is going to bode well for Justin Trudeau? What do you think about the National Food Program for students? Leave your comments down below. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you like the video, make sure to join us here in our large Fringe majority. Leave a thumbs up or a comment on the way out. It helps us in the algorithm. It tells YouTube, hey, this is good content. Stop suppressing it. People should be watching this video. If you enjoyed it, I implore you to do so. If not, that's okay too. I appreciate that you stopped by. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.